sure Netflix is also sitting there thinking, well, if we want to go down, if the divorce is coming at some point, Meghan's definitely the one to get behind.
Breaking today, Meghan Markle has dumped Prince Harry from her Netflix deal. She's the rock star now. And the Fresh Prince is going to have to go and make his own money. I'm going to take you through this hilarious and sensational story in just one moment. But Brittany from the Royal News Network, what do you make of this brutal decision for Meghan to say, actually, mate, Netflix is now all mine. You're going to have to go and find your own deals.
Well, I think for her, it's a dream come true because she's definitely always been super interested in Hollywood, super obsessed with it. And so I think for her to finally have this deal by herself, I think would be a huge coup. But it's also a recognition of the fact that, well, what was actually successful for them was them together. And so for her to go solo is a bit of a risk here. But I'm sure Netflix as well are thinking, okay, we signed you guys to this huge deal. You hardly made any of the metrics that you were supposed to. And Harry, both of his offerings completely and utterly bombed. Polo and Heart of Invictus totally bombed. And while I think With Love Meghan wasn't as good of a performer as they would like us to think it was, it obviously did make it into the top 10, at least for the week in the United States. But I don't think this is good for news for Harry, but I'm sure Netflix is also sitting there thinking, well, if we want to go down, if the divorce is coming at some point, Meghan's definitely the one to get behind.
Well, of course, because we know that she's already shopping this post-divorce book, or at least people close to her are. So this is how The Sun revealed the story, Brittany. They wrote, Meghan is set to land a Netflix deal for a third series of her lifestyle show, but Prince Harry will not be in it. The TV streaming giant's boss, Ted Sarandos, plans to feature only the Duchess, and he even calls her the rock star, sources say. Despite her With Love Meghan series being savaged by reviewers, it will be recommissioned for a third run to be shown next year. The second series, with no Harry or their children Archie 6 and Lilibet 3, has already been filmed and is due to be screened in the autumn. A source told The Sun on Sunday, the relationship between Netflix and Meghan goes far deeper than many people realise. Sarandos has a weekend home near the Sussexes in Montecito, California, and recently said, I think Meghan is underestimated in terms of her influence on culture. Now, regular viewers, Brittany, will know that I've been speaking for some time about this friendship between Ted Sarandos and Meghan Markle. Ted Sarandos has a black wife, and there seems to be some type of, I guess you would say, natural bond there. Meghan's taken them both to see a Beyonce concert, although I would argue this is cynical, knowing how Meghan does manipulate relationships.
100%. Meghan is, I'm sure, fully into, I don't know if you could say flirting, but totally manipulating, I think, Ted, and he's just going along with it in my personal opinion, because we've seen actual realities of Meghan on the ground, is that her influence on culture is almost entirely negative. People sort of watch her to make fun of her. And so this idea that he has, like, he's, you got to say, almost completely blind to the realities of Meghan. And he's just they're trying to support whatever she's doing, but if they're going with a third season of this mess, I mean, they should at least see how the second season performs first, because what we have seen over and over again with Harry and Meghan is that the curiosity factor sucks people in, but it doesn't go over the finish line. That when it comes to Meghan's podcast, it was what, number 1 or 2 on Apple Podcasts that first week. Now it's not even in the top 200 shows. It completely dropped into oblivion. And I think it's even number, I want to say, in the 40s or 50s when it comes to just even business podcasts. And so this idea that she's going to have this staying power, I think, is complete miscalculation. But there's a lot of miscalculation in Hollywood. There's a lot of very, you could say, bad studio heads out there that have ruined massive IPs. Let's say Star Wars, for instance. You have a lot of fools in Hollywood too. So I hate to say it, but he's one of them.
Personal relationship with Meghan and his personal desire to be seen to stand by her because she is part of a mixed race couple. He's signing up to that woke narrative, her racism narrative. I just feel like it's so intellectually dishonest. But where she's been clever, Brittany, is she has given away a big piece of As Ever to effectively
Mm,
tie Netflix in. Of course, they're going to want to keep on making these series. You know, if she had been a serious businesswoman, Brittany, with a
mm.
serious plan, like I'm talking about a Gwyneth Paltrow
Oh, yeah.
or a Martha Stewart, she's not giving away a huge chunk of her business to
No.
Netflix because they're simply running a show. But Meghan is so desperate for someone to back her. So this is the problem. She's trapped him in personally. She's
Mm.
trapped him in professionally. More full Ted Sarandos. And also to think that she can do it without Harry, I think is quite arrogant as well, because of course so much of the interest has been to see their interaction together, although these days it's always very miserable.
Well, when it comes to the business aspect, I mean, As Ever is a mess. And Netflix, I think, is 100% tied in because I was looking through my emails from As Ever because I got some products and I was able to review them. And in one email, it says As Ever LLC and Netflix. So they were on the same level with As Ever being first. But I imagine Netflix fronted a lot of the money for the production of this. But the product line is massively mediocre. I've tasted the vast majority of it. It's all like just pedestrian stuff. It's not that good. And so it just seems very apparent that Ted is completely blinded by his personal relationship with Meghan to see the writing on the wall here, which is that this is going to fail. She doesn't even market it well. None of it is, I think, waiting so long to restock, I think, has resulted in people not being as interested in the brand, even those who didn't get it, who are maybe the curiosity factor. And like I said, I don't think they made much from the initial launch at all because the batch was
No.
so small. None of it even ended up on eBay for resale. People couldn't even buy it to resell it at a premium to make money. There
It
just
was
wasn't
a
even enough of it.
tiny batch, and 2 months later to have
Hmm.
no product restocked is not
It's
just
terrible.
irresponsible, it's embarrassing. And it's
Hmm.
embarrassing that Ted Sarandos is actually allowing Netflix to be dragged down by such a mess. You know, Ari Emanuel quite rightly got out. Now, uh, the Daily Mail and Alison Boshoff in the Daily Mail has been doing some more reporting on this deal. And she writes, one well placed source tells me what people do not understand about the situation is that Ted Sarandos is a massive, massive fan of Meghan personally. He calls her the rock star. There is no way that her deal does not get renewed. Ted is in the Meghan business, and that is not about to change. He's all in. So while the deal will be re-upped, my source said it's on the basis of Meghan's on-screen presence and of her ideas in the lifestyle arena, and not on account of any ideas Harry has had. The initial Netflix deal was with both Meghan and Harry and reportedly worth £78 million over a 5-year period. The couple promised to create content that informs but also gives hope. Their 2022 tell-all documentary Harry and Meghan was a runaway success, racking up 97.7 million hours of viewing in its first week. However, it was followed by Heart of Invictus, which, although a worthy look at the work of Harry's charity for injured servicemen and women, was one of Netflix's worst performers of 2023. Last year's Polo, a behind-the-scenes documentary about the sport which barely featured the Sussexes, did not chart. Those who do business with Netflix believe the new deal will be a much reduced offer compared with their current agreement, and it will be focused entirely on Meghan, and this time without a generous upfront payment. And a senior TV and film producer told the Mail the renewal will be crucial in saving face all round, not least for Netflix. It's like Amazon endlessly renewing Phoebe Waller-Bridge's deal despite her coming up with nothing. It means that the executive who made the hire doesn't look as if they made a mistake. I can see why it makes sense to renew for much smaller money. Meghan's not got anything to the screen as a producer. None of the scripted films or TV shows she talked about have come to fruition, but people are fascinated by her on a global level, and that's not true of many people. And what's interesting, Brittany, is we know that the executive here is Ted Sarandos, so he is sort of saving face himself as well, because it is interesting comparing it with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, paid a exorbitant amount of money to
Mhm.
deliver absolutely nothing for Amazon. Most people thought she would be cut loose, but in fact she was renewed on much less money because these people who signed the deal initially can't always admit this was just a disaster. And that's why I actually have respect for Bill Simmons and Spotify for just saying, look, it didn't
Mm.
work. Didn't work. They were grifters. We didn't come up with anything. They didn't want to do anything. We got rid.
Mhm.
I would have more respect if that was Ted Sarandos's approach.
Oh, me too. And when it comes to Spotify, they were 100% right to cut and run. They're like, this is a mess. They're impossible to work with. Their ideas are crap. And so let's just leave them in a rear view mirror and we'll put our money towards better people. Even if they had to, let's say, give Harry and Meghan some money to cut and run, at least it's better than sticking with them and then being tied to the toxic brand that is Harry and Meghan. Now, while when it comes to the deal overall, I can 100% see them going with Meghan and going with a much lower deal because when Harry and Meghan signed, this was happening all over Hollywood. Many big name producers like Shonda Rhimes and Ryan Murphy were getting these massive, massive deals from these streaming companies in 2020. Well, those have massively been rescinded when they re-signed because some of them at least aren't able to keep up with content. And so they need to reframe and restructure things. And the money isn't rolling in like it used to. We have the streaming wars that's come out with Netflix on top. So Harry and Meghan were better for signing with Netflix. But I think the other problem here is that this idea that people are fascinated by Meghan is sort of a misnomer. They're fascinated to watch her fail. They want to see the failure. They want to see her finally get her comeuppance. And that's sort of the fascination. So the real thing to do, if you really want to capitalize on Meghan, is to do something a la Keeping Up with the Kardashians, a no holds barred view of her interacting in her daily life. That is what actually is going to sell. Nothing else has sold. And as ever, you could say, when it comes to Meghan, there's a lot of noise, but it's rarely converting into customers, viewers, those sorts of things. And so people in the media gotta gobble up the media side, but they're not really going and investing in Harry and Meghan's commercial endeavors. And if Ted Sandros can't see that, then well, he's utilizing his personal relationship to make decisions, and that's just bad as a business person,
Well,
in
and
my.
please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Indeed,
Opinion.
indeed. I mean, Princess Carpuckle, who's doing some great work looking into this, posted over the weekend. Meghan Markle is the worst brand owner ever. No restock in over 2 months. No brand promotion except on Instagram, which is bare minimum. Most fledgling business owners couldn't afford to not push their brand for 2 weeks on social media, but Markle is relying on her connection to the royal family and her title to do the heavy lifting. She did no press, promos, appearances for As Ever. She just threw in some mentions on her appearances promoting her Netflix show. Still no appearances of her products in the Netflix brick and mortar stores. No newsletters, no updates, nothing. That's not sustainable, even for a faux royal. She's lazy, ignorant, arrogant, and will fail because she can't take advice. Harsh but true, Brittany?
Oh, 100% true. I've done a lot of examination of Meghan from the business side, and she is, when it comes to social media, exceptionally lazy. And her promotion of her brand, I don't even still understand what the lifestyle of As Ever is that she's trying to promote. She has herself simple pleasures, washing blueberries. I wash blueberries too, Meghan. Don't do it in a kitchen in a house worth $15 million, but I also wash blueberries. What is the point? What's deeper here? Because we're in a very savvy media age. And so we're not as, I would say, enticed by people who are showing random, very curated pictures on Instagram. And she's not giving us, I think, anything of value. And even when she shows, let's say, her, like she's in the kitchen, she posted that latest picture of As Ever, of her in the kitchen. There's no single branded As Ever product. And I would almost guarantee you that that photo was taken for American Riviera Orchard. It wasn't even taken for As Ever. She hasn't even taken the time to re-look at her brand and figure out how As Ever is different from American Riviera Orchard and change up how she is promoting the brand. I mean, I would not be surprised if most of the pictures she's posting are a year old on As Ever because she doesn't take the time to rethink things. She rushes through. That's why all the products are mediocre. Is because she did not take the time to really, I think, go through all the quality assurance processes. I mean, I have mistakes on some of my products from As Ever. I have a sticker that's crooked, like all these sorts of things that should not be happening in a brand that's a premium. But I mean, it goes back to the overall thing. I don't think Meghan knows how to promote her brand, what her brand is. She just wants to say, please give me money because I'm a duchess. That's her whole brand
Yeah,
strategy.
I mean, look at this, Brittany, this latest
Hmm.
as ever post. Stir, sip, repeat. Savoring moments, slow and sweet this holiday weekend. I mean, it's
I mean, what does
just
it
so
mean?
bad.
It's so bad. It's so incredibly bad. And you can hire people to help you create and manage the brand. Like it's so obvious she's doing it. Sometimes she reposts her own posts from As Ever on the As Ever stories. And I'm like, but there was nothing there. Like, what are you doing? She's so incredibly behind the times when it comes to social media strategy. So even if she's hiring branding experts, she's still the one dictating because we can see how bad this is. Anybody with any sort of media savvy can see how awful this whole strategy is. And if she wants it to be taken seriously, then she needs to start actually putting in the effort, like getting products together, explaining if there's going to be seasonal packages versus something that's stable in her shop. But I think she's terrified that if she actually puts, let's say, 10, 20,000 products up for sale, I think she'll find they'll take a long time to sell out. And that's what's really worrying her. She really wants to be seen as successful. And so she'll use any manipulative tactic, like having a super small batch in order to start her brand and then not. But of course, it's like, I think production delays or something. I don't know. Anyways, the whole As Everything is just a mess.
It is. It is a total mess. What is
Yeah.
also a real mess, Brittany, is this desperate desire that Meghan keeps on trying to get big names to come into her orbit to either do Confessions of a Female
Mhm.
Founder, to do With Love Meghan. We know that she'd been turned down by Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Megan Thee Stallion, and now revealed by Kinsey Schofield. Watch this. The latest, Brittany, is Dolly Parton. I mean, it's true, isn't it, Brittany? Chrissy
Mhm.
Teigen is the big star for series two. Probably one of the only people regarded as a bigger bully than Meghan Markle herself. Of course, Dolly Parton would have been a great guest. I mean, I love Dolly Parton. I've interviewed her many, many times. Wonderful woman. She is absolutely someone you want to have as part of your show. I loved it. She appeared on my former podcast. I interviewed her in my old role at ITV. And
Mm.
Dolly's a real Anglophile, right? Like she loves everything connected to the United Kingdom and the royal family.
Mhm.
But I think she's totally right to say no. I would be devastated if Dolly dragged herself into that orbit.
Well, smart people in Hollywood have sort of figured Harry and Meghan out in that getting involved in their orbit just doesn't really seem to go well for anyone. And so people smart like Dolly Parton is well beloved in the United States. And so I just can't even remotely see her going, yeah, I need to connect with Meghan Markle. That's going to be so helpful to me and my brand. No, no. She is known for being very loving and very kind. And so she doesn't really want to be associated with Meghan. And so do a lot of other people. They're wanting to keep their distance. And Meghan is just having a hard time, I think, attracting top level talent. It's sort of why her podcast has failed so badly. Is I don't know who anybody is that she's interviewing. And if the best you can get for season 2 of With Love is Chrissy Teigen, I mean, that tells you a lot right there. Where's Jessica Alba? Where's Kerry Washington? Where's Tyler Perry? Why aren't they appearing on there? They might socialize with Meghan, but they are very careful not to too closely associate themselves with her either. They don't really want to be involved in the projects. They know they fail. I mean, so best to stay away, and that's what everybody's doing. And so I think Meghan will always have a difficult time attracting big level talent.
I think she will. I absolutely think she will. She's going to keep struggling with that because, as you say, even if the individuals involved would be interested to do it, as soon as it
Mm.
gets to their team, hell no. Another commercial devastating moment, though, for Meghan Markle and As Ever over the weekend, with the revelation that Flamingo Estate, which is this brand, you'll remember, Brittany, that
Mm.
Meghan had actually tried to buy into, now teaming up with Highgrove. and Burberry. So Twin Talk posted, "This is huge. Flamingo Estate did a collaboration with Highgrove and Burberry. The world
Mm.
has spoken and they are team royal family."
Mm.
Nancy Sidley added to that, "Meghan Markle is not taking the Flamingo Estate Highgrove collab very well. She's staring at an empty bowl in her outdated kitchen, thinking it's a flex," referring specifically to that to that picture that we saw there. But this is quite a big deal, isn't it? Because it's effectively this guy who runs Flamingo Estate who had been friends with Meghan, at least to some degree, saying, "I'm choosing my side and I'm Team Royal, not Team Sussex."
I mean, it almost always is beneficial to you to be Team Royal. The royal family is where the power is, it's where the influence is. They have dignity, they have elegance. They they're somebody that the world sort of aspires to be, and they're fascinated by it in a very positive way. And so to be associated with Charles and Highgrove is a huge coup for Flamingo Estate. It's 100% is. And I imagine as Meghan was trying to finagle her way into like being an investor with Flamingo Estates, like sort of the thing that I'm sure kind of dawned on this gentleman who started it was that Meghan is just using him and his company to get ahead. Whereas the royals don't have those sort of angles. Instead, their angle is, well, I'm a royal, I'm representing the UK. If you want to come and work with us, that's great. And so it's beneficial for all, whereas Meghan is just always in it for herself. And I think that's why she's gotten pushback from a lot of people. But this collaboration, I think, is fantastic. It looks, again, great for the royal family and shows how Charles with Highgrove, he has worked very hard to curate this incredible garden, and that people are flocking to it, so interested in it and so interested in highlighting his work, especially when it comes to conservation and environmentalism and everything. I think it's just a great reflection of how Charles has slowly grown his reputation and become respected rather than demanding respect and attention like Meghan does.
Indeed, Brittany, increasing fallout, by the way, from the video of Meghan Markle with Princess Lilibet. We can take a look at it. This is the beekeeping video, and so much consternation about what's going on. And the Royal Grift writes, "Meghan has made this child look like a fool. This child is not wearing protective fitted clothing for handling bees and has put this child's welfare at risk. Look at the sleeves and the legs. It is not one continuous suit, but appears to be some kind of king-size pillowcase or laundry bag with holes cut out for arms and legs. The gloves are too big, and don't even get me started on the lampshade that is not properly secured on this child's head. Does anyone believe this kid is comfortable or having fun to perform for Instagram? Nothing about this is cute. It's borderline abuse and sad to see." So they're picking up, Brittany, on this idea that I mentioned earlier, that actually it's not properly fitted, this clothing. So which either makes you think one or two things, Brittany. Either Lilibet is at risk if there are real bees there, or what I believe, which is that this is just a publicity stunt, because you'll remember that when Meghan was pictured in with Love wearing the beekeeping outfits, lots of beekeepers, my auntie's a beekeeper, came out publicly and said it is so obvious that she's never actually worked with bees before. I mean, look how clean it is. Look how clean it is.
And she was also wearing jeans in that episode. And so it's interesting now that she's all of a sudden in the whole beekeeping outfit, but she's just dragging her daughter along for a publicity stunt. And that's just so incredibly evident. I would not be surprised again if there are no bees, that it's a total fake setup and that it's just looking like a beehive so she can just drag her daughter there and go, "Look, we're doing things together." I mean, I still don't even understand the point. Like, what is the message here? Like, they're saying sugar, sugar. It's like, we know Meghan is not actually harvesting any of that honey. She has like no equipment. Are they just going over there to look at the hive? There's nothing to see. What is the point? But dragging her daughter there potentially in an unsafe situation is 100% what Meghan Markle would do, in my opinion, to get some social media attention. She would always be more than willing to compromise things, and if it gets her ahead, and even if it means compromising her kids, in my opinion.
And Brittany, just a final word from an American perspective on King
Mm.
Charles in Canada. A lot of political observers are saying this is the monarch sending a bit of a message to Trump, saying, keep your hands off Canada. He's, of course, made quite a few provocative comments about the Commonwealth country, potentially becoming the 51st state of the USA. Is it really smart for Charles to insert himself in this sort of, I'd say, relatively light-hearted political battle between Canada and the US?
I mean, for me, I think the whole thing, like you said, is lighthearted. I don't think there's any greater depth there. But when it comes to King Charles, he's doing exactly what he should be doing. This is, you could say, a bit of a show to show Canada's connection to the United Kingdom. And I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that. I don't think anybody would really have an issue there. We know that Donald Trump is very, very fond of the royal family. And while he may say it in jest in terms of the issues he's having with Canada, I don't think it reflects at all on his relationship with Charles and how he sees Charles. And so I don't read too much into it. It makes sense for King Charles to do something like this early in his reign. And so it's his first visit to Canada, I think, since becoming king. So this is an important moment, and I think it's a good thing for him to do. So very exciting to see Charles in Canada, and hopefully him and Camilla have a wonderful time.
And you don't think Donald Trump's going to weigh in?
Nah. I mean, maybe he might say something, but I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
There's bigger fish to fry right now.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
Fresh reports suggest Netflix may be shifting its focus away from Prince Harry and placing Meghan Markle at the center of its future partnership. According to the discussion, Meghan is reportedly being positioned as the primary face of any renewed content deal, while Harry's role appears increasingly uncertain. If true, this would represent a significant change from the original Sussex partnership that Netflix signed several years ago. The panel argues that a solo Netflix arrangement would fulfill Meghan's long-held Hollywood ambitions. They suggest that entertainment and lifestyle branding have always been central to her long-term goals. At the same time, moving forward independently would also represent a considerable gamble, since much of the public interest surrounding the couple has traditionally come from their joint appearances rather than individual projects. A major focus of the conversation centers on Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos. The panel notes reports that Sarandos has publicly praised Meghan and described her as influential. They argue that his personal confidence in Meghan may be playing a role in Netflix's continued willingness to invest in her projects, despite mixed commercial outcomes. This interpretation reflects the commentator's opinion rather than confirmed corporate strategy. The discussion broadens into Hollywood's tendency to maintain relationships with high-profile talent despite inconsistent results. The commentators argue that personal connections often influence entertainment decisions alongside audience performance. They suggest that Netflix may see continued value in Meghan because of her international profile and ongoing media attention, regardless of whether every project becomes a major success. Attention then shifts to Meghan's lifestyle business. The panel criticizes the limited product releases and slow restocking process, arguing that these issues have weakened consumer enthusiasm. They contend that sustaining momentum is essential for any lifestyle brand and suggest that inconsistent product availability risks reducing long-term public interest. The conversation compares Netflix's handling of the Sussex partnership with Spotify's earlier decision to end its relationship with Harry and Meghan. The commentators argue that Spotify chose to move on quickly after concluding the partnership had not delivered the expected results, while Netflix appears more willing to continue investing, albeit potentially under revised financial terms. Reports cited during the discussion indicate that any future Netflix agreement could be significantly smaller than the Sussexes' original contract and centered primarily on Meghan's on-screen presence and lifestyle content. According to the commentators, this reflects both changing conditions within the streaming industry and Netflix's effort to adapt its investment strategy while preserving an existing high-profile partnership. The discussion concludes that Netflix may be recalibrating its relationship with the Sussexes rather than ending it altogether. Whether Meghan ultimately succeeds as a standalone lifestyle personality remains uncertain, but the report suggests the streaming platform sees greater commercial opportunity in her individual brand than in future joint productions with Prince Harry. If these reports prove accurate, the Sussex partnership with Netflix may be entering a new phase where Meghan becomes the primary focus while Harry pursues separate opportunities.